What if going to school could cost you your life? What if simply carrying a book or speaking for education made you a target for violence? And what if one young girl, after surviving an attack meant to silence her, stood before the entire world and turned her pain into a message of hope? Today, we are exploring one of the most powerful and inspiring speeches of modern times. Malala Yousafzai's address to the United Nations Youth Assembly. This speech is not only about education, it is about courage, equality, peace, forgiveness, and the unstoppable power of knowledge. Malala Yousafzai's speech to the United Nations Youth Assembly was delivered in 2013 after she survived an assassination attempt by the Taliban. The speech became globally famous because it transformed a personal tragedy into a universal call for change. In this address, Malala speaks for children denied education, for girls silenced by fear, for victims of terrorism and injustice, and for a world where books and pens are stronger than bullets and violence. The speech combines personal experience, emotional appeal, moral courage, and a powerful message of peace and equality. Let us get to know about the author and speaker. Malala Yousafzai is a Pakistani education activist and the youngest person ever to receive the Nobel Prize. She was born in 1997 in Mingora, Swat Valley, Pakistan. From a young age, Malala strongly believed that every child, especially every girl, deserves the right to education. At that time, the Taliban controlled parts of Pakistan and banned girls from attending school. Even as a child, Malala spoke publicly against these restrictions. She wrote blogs, gave interviews, and raised her voice for girls' education. On October 9, 2012, Malala was shot in the head by Taliban gunmen while returning home from school. The attackers believed that violence would silence her voice. But instead, her voice became even stronger. After recovering, Malala continued her mission internationally and became a symbol of courage, peaceful resistance, women's rights, and youth leadership. The central theme of the speech is education as the most powerful tool for peace, freedom, and social transformation. The speech also focuses on gender equality, human rights, non-violence, courage, and global responsibility. Malala believes that ignorance and extremism grow where education is denied. According to her books, Create Awareness, Knowledge Creates Freedom, and Education Creates Peace. The opening of the speech. Malala begins respectfully by greeting the UN Secretary General, world leaders, elders, and people around the world. She humbly says that she does not know where to begin because of the overwhelming love and support she received after the attack. She thanks God, doctors, nurses, supporters, children, and people across the world who prayed for her recovery. This opening creates an emotional connection with the audience. It also shows her humility and gratitude despite her suffering. I am just one of them. One of the most powerful moments in the speech comes when Malala says, I am just one of them. This sentence is deeply meaningful. She does not present herself as a hero above others. Instead, she sees herself one among millions suffering from violence, one among children denied education, and one among girls fighting for equality. She says, I speak not for myself but for all girls and boys. This transforms her speech from a personal story into a global human rights message. The Taliban attack. Malala recalls a terrifying attack on October 9, 2012. The Taliban shot her and her friends because they opposed girls' education. The extremists believe bullets would silence her, fear would stop education, and violence would destroy hope. But Malala says something powerful. They thought that the bullets would silence us, but they failed. Instead of fear, she gained strength, courage, and determination. She says, weakness, fear, and hopelessness died, strength, power, and courage was born. This becomes the emotional turning point of the speech. Message of forgiveness and non-violence. One of the most extraordinary parts of the speech is Malala's message of forgiveness. She says she does not hate the Taliban member who shot her. Even if she had a gun, she says she would not shoot him. Why? Because she believes in peace, compassion, and non-violence. She explains that she learnt these values from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, Jesus Christ, Lord Buddha, Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., Mother Teresa, and her parents. This section shows Malala's moral maturity and emotional strength. Instead of revenge, she chooses peace. The power of books and education. Malala strongly argues that extremists fear books and education because education creates awareness, challenges oppression, encourages equality, and gives people the courage to question injustice. She says the pen is mightier than the sword. This famous line becomes one of the central ideas of the speech. Malala explains that terrorists fear books, pens, schools, and especially educated women. She says they destroy schools because they fear change and equality. This part highlights the connection between ignorance and violence. Women's rights and girls' education. Malala pays special attention to the struggles of women and girls. She explains how girls are denied education, forced into child labor, pushed into early marriage, and prevented from achieving independence. She says women have suffered the most in many societies. But she also gives a message of empowerment. She says now it's time for women to fight for themselves. Malala encourages girls around the world to be brave, speak up, and realize their own strength. Global problems discussed in the speech. Malala broadens the discussion beyond Pakistan. She speaks about child labor in India, destroyed schools in Nigeria, terrorism in Afghanistan, poverty and injustice worldwide. This makes the speech universal. She reminds the audience that millions of children across the world are still denied education. The speech becomes a call for global unity and collective responsibility. Call to world leaders. Malala directly appeals to governments and world leaders. She asks them to ensure free education for every child, protect women's rights, fight terrorism and violence, support girls' education, and promote peace and equality. She says we cannot all succeed when half of us are held back. The line powerfully emphasizes gender equality. The climax comes near the end when Malala gives her most famous speech. Her most famous message. One child, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world. This sentence summarizes the entire speech. It shows her belief that real change begins with education. Not weapons, not violence, not hatred, but knowledge. This line becomes globally famous because of its simplicity and universal truth. Malala concludes with hope and determination. She says the world must fight against illiteracy, poverty, terrorism, injustice, and ignorance. She asks people to pick up the books and pens because education is the most powerful weapon for change. Her final words are education is the only solution, education first. This ending leaves the audience inspired and emotionally moved. Now, let us look at the themes and analysis. First, power of education. Education empowers individuals and transforms societies. Second, courage and resistance. Malala shows how courage can defeat fear and oppression. Third, nonviolence and forgiveness. The speech promotes peace instead of revenge. Fourth, women's empowerment. Girls' education is presented as essential for equality. Fifth, global responsibility. Education is not only a national issue, it is a worldwide responsibility. Sixth, Malala proves that even one voice can inspire millions. Important quotes: the pen is mightier than the sword. Weakness, fear, and hopelessness died. Strength, power, and courage was born. One child, one teacher, one pen, and one book can change the world. Education is the only solution. Education first. Now, students, think deeply about these questions. Why are extremists afraid of education? How can education bring peace and equality? What makes Malala's response to violence so powerful? Do all children today truly have equal access to education? Share your thoughts in the comments and discuss how education can transform lives and societies. Books can build futures, pens can challenge injustice, and one courageous voice can inspire the entire world. Education first always. Students, if you have understood this explanation, please subscribe to the channel, like this video, share it with your friends, hit the bell icon, and comment below your thoughts. Thank you for watching.